Welcome back, everybody. Let's jump straight into it. Why do we need sleep? I made a video on this a few months ago. Why do we need sleep? And I mentioned pretty much most of the things I'm going to mention here, with the addition of some things. Sleep is an integral part of the human experience, or so we think it is, and it is. We do need sleep. And we do need 8 to 10 hours of sleep if we're living the modern life that most of us live. So I have 5 reasons here. I wrote them down. Why do we need to sleep? Because I'm working on reducing sleep. Because think about it. If you can reduce your sleep to 4 instead of 8 hours, you've got 4 extra hours to do something with anything that you want to do, right? Now, the idea isn't to reduce sleep for the hell of reducing sleep. It's to reduce sleep while maintaining an optimal, vital lifestyle. So it's one thing to reduce sleep to 4 hours and get by. That's easy. We can all do it. We can all sleep 4 hours a night and get by, you know? You can use things like coffee, stimulants to get you by. And even then, you don't need to. You could do other things. You could use your mind. You could do certain things. You can get by. 4 hours of sleep every night. You can get by. Getting by is not the concern here, because that's easy. Anybody can get by. Humans are very adaptable. Your body, your mind adapt to any new circumstance you put in front of it, but that doesn't mean that that thing that the body and the mind are adapted to is optimal. We're looking to reduce sleep, and so let's say, for instance, you're able to reduce sleep to 4 hours and you've got 20 hours. Those 20 hours, we're talking about very alive, vital, vibrant 20 hours. You don't feel the need to nap in the middle of the day. You're not feeling groggy. You're feeling excited. You're feeling joyful. You're feeling alive for those 20 hours. And for the vast majority of us, vast majority of people watching, me included, that's not possible. If you're sleeping 4 hours a night on a regular basis, you're going to burn out. You're absolutely going to burn out. So let's understand then, why do we sleep? Let's understand, why do we sleep? So I have 5 reasons here. It's not all the reasons of why we need to sleep. There are 5 reasons. There are 5 things. The first one is eating. Eating. And in my not so humble opinion, eating takes 25 to 35 of the energetic requirements and the sleep requirements. So if you need 9 hours of sleep, about a third of that, I'd say even more. I think I'm being conservative here with the number. It could be up to 50%. But I would say at least out of those 9 hours that you need to sleep every night just to be relatively optimal and functional, a good 3 hours of those, I'd say maybe even 4, is the body recovering, extracting, digesting, eliminating food, the food that you eat. And of course, the quality of the food you eat plays a huge factor. But at the end of the day, eating is eating. So you could be eating steak, beef versus fruits. Steaks and beefs and chicken and meats would be the equivalent of coal. Very inefficient, very wasteful. And therefore, the body's going to require a lot more sleep to recover from the toxic effects. And because as soon as you put something in here, you've got to digest it, process it, break it down to the molecular level, and then eliminate the waste. So That would be like eating coal, or that would be like using coal for energy. And then you've got something like fruits, that would be like using oil, which we currently use. Lighter, more efficient, less wasteful, but still, ultimately, it's still a fossil fuel. So if you need 9 hours of sleep a night to be functioning optimally, right? Like, I mean, when I say optimally, I mean you wake up and you cannot wait to get out of bed. Okay, like you're waking up like, oh man, like I have so much energy, I don't know what to do with it. That's optimal. Okay, because we've got to really raise the standards here for what good health is, what vitality is. If you're waking up and you're taking your time and you're groggy and that's not optimal. That's not optimal. Period. It's not optimal. It's not your highest potential. And we've really got to raise the bar here. We've really got to raise the bar. We've really got to look at ourselves in our highest potential here. So eating 25 to 35, maybe even more. If you're eating really dense foods, definitely more, up to 50% of their energy or the sleep requirements are because of food. So if you're sleeping 9 hours, you're eating really heavy foods, about 4 of those are just for the food, to digest the food, to process the food, to eliminate the food. So that's number one. That's a big reason of why we need to sleep. Number two, physical recovery. If you've ever done heavy lifting in the gym, squats, deadlifts, bench press, you know the next day, you know you're going to be knocked out that night, and you know the next day, you wake up and you're like, feel like a bus just hit you, right? Like a bus just hit you. Because when you do workout and you put the physical body into heavy exertion, there are certain waste byproducts that are produced, such as lactic acid. And they need to be flushed out of the system. When they get flushed, all toxic waste, whether it's from food, we talked about it number one, or physical recovery, so byproducts of exertion or overexertion physically, they need to be flushed. So there's several ways of which these toxins get flushed. They get flushed through the skin, through the kidneys, and then the urine, or you shit it out, or breath, right? About 70% of all toxins are exerted out via the breath. So too much physical exertion is going to require sleep. So I remember back in the days where I was a fitness buff and I used to go to the gym and I used to do heavy lifting. And I used to eat meat and grains and pretty much not a standard American diet, but your typical gym bro diet, right? Lots of protein, which require a lot of energy to process and eliminate, and grains, same thing, starches. For me to be optimal, functional, at my highest potential, waking up in the morning and like, let's go, I needed about 10 hours of sleep, 11, 12 sometimes. If I really worked out really hard in the gym and I really ate, then there were nights where I actually needed 12 hours to be optimal. I could be out at 9. I could get 9 hours and, wake up and I drink my coffee and it get me like 2-3 hours to get going. But I'm talking if I wanted to genuinely just get out of bed and burst out alive, I would have needed 11, 12 hours of sleep on some of those nights. And it was those nights that I got 11, 12 hours of sleep that I woke up having done an intense workout the day before and having ate heavy foods that I still felt good. Because the body needed like pretty much half the day just to deal with all of this so that you could feel clear-headed and energetic and vital and alive. So that's number 2. Number 3, mental fatigue. So in the same way your physical body needs more rest, more sleep, when it's fatigued, when it's physically overexerted itself, it's the same thing with the mind, because at the core of it, your nervous system runs your human experience. So when you do overexert yourself physically, you overexert your nervous system, you burn out your nervous system. And when you do think too much, or you just have your mind running in so many different places, like you wake up and I gotta do this today. I gotta do that. I gotta take a shower now, and then I gotta check on this, and I gotta reply to that, and I gotta do this, and right? Tired. You're getting tired. Mental fatigue. Your neurons here are getting burned out too, and that would cause you to need more sleep as well. Number 4. This one is subtle, surprising, but it is significant in dictating how much sleep you need, is bad posture. If your muscles are out of place, they're always, think of like your joints, for instance. If your joints are out of place due to bad posture, certain muscles weaker, your bones, your joints are always rubbing against each other, friction, and that friction is causing tension, and that tension it's a form of stress, and that's creating acids. Acids are corrosive, they're destructive. Okay, so if you're always tense in certain area of your body, I know I'm always tense here and I'm working on my posture now, that's because certain muscles are out of balance, they're out of place, and they're constantly, the muscles, the joints, the bones are rubbing against each other, and that rubbing is creating corrosive acids that are causing the pain. Anytime you have pain, there is an acid. An acid is a corrosive substance that is inside the body, the body has not had the chance to clear, and so you need more sleep as a result to be able to clear them out. So if you, for instance, go 2 nights with very little sleep, you will notice that you're tense all over the body, right? What's going on? It's because you probably have bad posture, and the body did not have time to clean out those acids that are the result of constant rubbing and friction. So good posture equals wakefulness also. If you're always mindful of your posture, that's why yogis place a huge emphasis on posture, and they just practice sitting down for many hours just to improve their posture, and they do hatha yoga and stretch out the muscles because it's very important. And so if muscles, joints, bones are out of place, that's constantly creating friction, constantly creating corrosive substances that need to be cleared out of the system, which means you need more sleep. And finally, number 5, environmental toxins. So environmental toxins would include things like air pollutants and EMFs, radiations from 5G, 4G, Wi-Fi, and all the modern technology and all the modern radiations, microwave, etc., etc., etc. That's also burning out the nervous system, causing the nervous system to need more rest. More rest, and you get the deepest rest, the deepest healing when you're in a sleeping state. The REM cycle, right? When you're in deep sleep. So by working with these 5 things, you could essentially get your phone, your vehicle, so I'm using the phone as an example here, on power saving mode. Now, power saving doesn't mean you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to sit down here. I mean, I'm not going to exert myself physically, right? Or, I'm not going to think at all. I'm just going to be like, right? So I get a sleep. I don't see the point. Because we're all here to do something. We're all here to be active in this world. I don't see the point of just not doing any physical activity. Actually, that's not good, because the physical activity in and of itself, such as walking, gets the lymphatic system to move, which gets the body to clear out the toxins. It is simply an optimization of these 5 things. So let's start. I'll give you here examples. So with food, for instance, you lighten up the diet, right? Instead of eating really heavy things like meat and dairy, you eat fruits. Simple, green leafy salads that require less energy to digest. And if you want to take it further and drastically reduce your sleep, then you can start to look into going breatharian, which means being sustained on subtler forms of energy. You could start with just liquids. You could start to just drink juices. And you could do this as a lifestyle, and you could reduce it to water. And if you're actually able to be fulfilled by the subtler energies and use no more than water to live, to thrive, that alone will reduce your sleep from, say, 8 hours to 4 hours. So you could be sleeping from like 12 to 4 every night, and that's it. You don't need any sleep. You've got vitality for the rest of the day to do everything else, to walk, to be creative, to do everything else. So you optimize the food. Less energy required to digest, to eliminate, simply means more energy available. It's very easy to see. Simple math. Physical recovery, so physical exercise. So humans are primarily designed to walk. So the best form of physical exercise is walking. It's incredible for your lymphatic system. It moves the lymph fluid, and the lymph fluid is responsible for moving all the toxins out of the body. But also, you could do other forms of exercise that don't require intense amount of recovery. So bodyweight exercises. You could do push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, dips, things with your body, handstands. And if you do it and make your way slowly, so you start off and slowly get your body and nervous system to adapt, the amount of recovery required from bodyweight exercises is not significant. It's not a significant amount. So you combine walking with bodyweight resistance training. Jogging, light jogging also. So things that, because jogging is another important function for a human body as well. There is walking. There's a reason why we're upright. There's a reason why we stand upright. The primary function is to walk from a physical standpoint, but also to jog. Not sprint. We're not sprinters. We're not natural sprinters. If you try to race a lion or you try to race a horse in a sprint, I mean, they will kick your ass. But if you do a marathon, for instance, it's a different story. So we're sprinters, slow and steady jogging. But you could do everything else. Just keep in mind, if you're going to go do heavy training or you're going to do some intense, high intensity training and lots of sprinting, you're going to need a lot more time to recover your muscles and your nervous system, which means more time to sleep. So that's what I'm talking about, optimization here. You see, you pick certain physical exercises that do not require a huge amount of rest. 4 is bad posture. So simply be mindful of posture, study human posture, human anatomy. It's very important. Most of us have like rounded shoulders because we have weak back muscles right here in this area. That's just one thing. Also, tight pec minors in this area. So lots of stretching and lots of mindfulness. So sit down in meditation or simply sit down. And if you're watching TV, then just be mindful of your posture. Or if you have a mirror, just look at the mirror. Constantly be mindful. Your chin, for instance, it should be tucked in. If you're always like this, see, that's causing some of the muscles here to overstretch and weaken, causing bad posture, causing the muscles, the joints to rub against each other, causing corrosive acidic substances to be stored in the body, thus needing more sleep to flush them out. So fix your posture, look into stretching, look into human anatomy, learn how to fix the imbalances. And over the long term, all of these things are over the long term, guys. It's not going to happen overnight. But over the long term, you will need less sleep if you are consistent and persistent with optimizing all these different things. Finally, number 5, environmental toxins. They cannot be entirely avoided in this day and age, but they can be minimized. Don't live in a polluted area, period. Do not be exposed to all this insane amount of air pollutants. That's step 1. If you can take it further, go live somewhere out in the country. If you can take it even further, go live off grid. And over a period of time of doing that, you'll also notice I need less sleep, I have more energy, because you're not exposed to all these toxins that the body is needing all this amount of sleep to flush out of the system. Same thing goes with EMF radiation. Microwaves, 4G, Wi-Fi, 5G, etc., etc. Same thing, they're frying the nervous system, causing you to need more sleep. So if you could, again, it's almost impossible to avoid this entirely in the modern day, but if you can minimize your use of technology, one thing that causes fatigue is constant looking at the screens. When you're constantly looking at screens, that causes fatigue also. It's frying your retina, it's frying the nerve endings here in this area. So you need more sleep to recover, for your nervous system to recover. So minimize your exposure to technology. Use it wisely. Okay, use it wisely. And if you do all these things and you do them in the long run, so this is not something in the short run, in the long run, you could genuinely, and I will emphasize on this again, you could genuinely reduce the amount of sleep you need anywhere between 3 to 5 hours. Okay, anywhere between 3 to 5 hours, and you'll have plenty of energy for the rest of the day. You won't need to take a nap in the middle of the day. You'll be so full of vitality, so full of joy, so full of vigor, and ready to take on life. You'll be powered by the subtler, more abundant energies. You would have switched, essentially, I mean, part of this is also lightening up the diet, right? You would be switching from fossil fuel dependence to subtler forms of energy such as solar, electricity, etc., which are far more abundant, free in nature, and not wasteful. For example, solar, there's no waste byproducts from solar, right? I'm talking about the cars here, and I'm just using that simply as a metaphor. So I'm working on that myself, and I've done some work on this in the past, and I did manage to reduce the requirements for sleep. But then I lost the plot again, right? So I'm currently in the process of working on that because I don't really want to sleep all that much. I don't want to need to sleep all that much, you see? Now keep in mind, when you start to do all these things, and especially lighten up the diet, you'll go through a period of detoxification where you will need possibly even more sleep than you were needing before, because the body is going through intense periods of detoxification, which means you need rest. Like, you need lots of rest. But once you get through that initial phase, then all of this will make much more sense to you. And you will realize that, like, I'm sleeping 5 hours and I'm running on this smooth, clean energy, just like running on solar energy, for example, for the rest of the day. Okay, so hopefully you got something out of this video. I certainly did. I wanted to make this video for myself as well, because this is something I'm contemplating recently. How do I reduce my need to sleep? How can I sleep as little as possible and be as energized, as vital as possible throughout the day? Genuinely, because again, remember, anybody can get by with 4 hours of sleep. Anybody, any human being alive. I know plenty of people that are getting by. Sure, as they grew older in age, they started to develop diseases and everything because the toxicity continues to build up, and everything else, they're getting by. We're not talking about getting by here. We're not talking about that. We're talking about having boundless amounts of energy the times you're not sleeping. We're talking about consistently sleeping anywhere between 3 to 5 hours, consistently, long term, minimum of 3 months. And for the larger period of those 3 months, you have boundless amount of energy for the remaining 20 or 19 to 21 hours of your day. That's what we're talking about here, folks. Okay, so very important distinction here. Okay, so there will be an initial stage of detoxification as you continue to optimize these 5 things here. Obviously, you're gonna need just as much sleep as you needed before, if not more. But once you get through that, the need for sleep is less and less, and all that energy can free up. You can naturally gain access to the subtler energies, and yeah, you could be high on life, like truly, genuinely high on the life force, because it is the life force that animates everything. Remember that, okay? So, thank you guys. Thank you for the supporters on Patreon and PayPal. I love you guys, all of you. Mwah. Well, until next time, may the force be with you.